Hello, Internet. Welcome to Creative Live. We are so excited to have this man in the Creative Live house. Mr. Roberto Valenzuela is joining us today for 101 solutions to common photography problems. Everybody needs this course. We all know what that's like. So
we all have problems.
We all have problems. I'm so excited that he's here at Creative Live today. My name is Susan Roderick, and I'm going to be your host, along with the beautiful Kenna Klosterman. How are you today, Miss Klosterman?
I am doing lovely today. We just had an incredible week at WPPI down in Vegas, as well as our 2 broadcasts from down there, and we are pumped to be back in Seattle with Roberto Valenzuela. Let's give him a round of applause. How are you doing this morning?
I'm here with my family again. You
Yes.
guys, you know I love you both very
Yes.
much so, and everyone here, of course, and the whole crew. I think my Creative Live experience last time was the most fun, most difficult, but the most fun experience ever. And I can't wait for this class. It's been a long time in the making.
It has been, and we'll talk about that when we get started, but it's incredible how much you have taken from the internet and from everybody out there, their challenges in order to put this whole together. So this is fully based upon all of you out there, which is pretty special. So we're going to keep it brief today in our pre-show. Let us know, though, in the chat rooms if you can see us and hear us. Let us know where you're joining us from. And just a note from Susan Pendon Roberto, who says, "Good afternoon from Virginia. Love Roberto. Glad to see him return."
Oh,
and
that's
so
nice.
are we. Let's give a couple of shout-outs, Susan. Who else do we have?
Well, I will say, I was walking down the hallway in Vegas Hotel, and I heard these women talking behind me, and they were talking about you, Roberto. They're like, what?
Good, bad?
Good, all good. They were saying they had just come from your platform and how amazing you were, and they were like, I just love Roberto. And I whipped around and I said, Roberto Valenzuela.
Did she love the looks or the class?
The class.
Oh, the class.
And class.
And the
Class.
And,
All right, so shout out time. Let's see. I'm in the lounge right now, and Deja Vu, who didn't actually say where they were coming from, said, welcome home, Susan and Kenna.
Why, thank you.
We have Roger C., who's joining us from Toronto, and C. Image is joining us from Philly. And the people just keep coming on. What do you have, Kenna?
I have Michigan. I have, let's see, Victoria. I have Port Townsend, which is local.
That is local. We have Qualis Photo is joining us from Jackson, Mississippi, which is so, yeah,
Awesome.
I've never been there.
Well, welcome everyone. Again, we are keeping our pre-show brief, but glad to hear that you can see us and hear us. Ooh, Brussels, Belgium, nice. Okay, everyone, so I think we should get started,
hit it,
right?
Kenna.
Let's hit it. Okay, so welcome everyone to Creative Live. We are here at a beautiful, beautiful, historic mansion in Seattle. This is so exciting because, again, the nooks and crannies of this place, it is a perfect place to talk about photography challenges. So I'm just going to take you through a quick introduction about how to watch today's class, how to ask questions in chat, and how to purchase the course videos. And my clicker isn't working, so I'm going to ask Nico, the fabulous Nico, to take a look at that or perhaps advance it. Here we are again at Roberto Valenzuela's 101 Solutions to Common Photography Problems.
Nicely done.
That is a long title, let me tell you. We'll be saying that many times today.
You nailed it. You nailed it.
All right, so a quick tutorial about how to watch today's class, how to ask questions in chat, and how to purchase the course videos. There's one place to watch Creative Live, and that is creativelive.com/live. You can take us on the go on your iPad, your iPhone, or your Android-friendly device. So no excuses. Wherever you are, you can, with an internet connection, you're welcome to join us here for free with Roberto Valenzuela. So let's take a look at the live page. When you go to creativelive.com/live, you will see this page. You will see the video screen, and you can see where you can purchase the workshop. Again, that buy button is right beneath there. Again, this is going to be really interactive. Roberto has already been prepping, getting your problems, your comments, but we're going to be asking you for your challenges as well throughout the next 3 days. So the best way to interact with us here is to click on that chat button. That'll open up 3 tabs across the top. The first tab is the Creative Live tab. And this is the one where you can interact with us and ask your on-topic questions. So keep that, I'm sorry, the live tab. This is for your on-topic conversations. So feel free to talk to each other about how you solve your challenges. And then in the next room, CreativeLive, or Creative Cues room, is where we ask for your questions. Again, just drop them in there. We have a crew of people behind the scenes who are making a list of those questions and passing them along to Susan and I so that we can pass them on to Roberto at the right time. So again, no need to ask them multiple times because we have that list going. And finally, we have the Creative Lounge. Good morning, loungers. Glad to see everyone here. We've got Adrian, who's joining us from Romania. So we love to see where you're joining us from. And the Creative Lounge is for you to have your off-topic conversations. So feel free to just get to know each other, have fun, build community there in the lounge. So in addition to the chat rooms, we are also taking your questions via Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/CreativeLive is the place to be. So give us your comments, your feedback there, as well as your questions. And we're using the hashtag RobertoLive. So we'll be looking for your comments and questions on Twitter as well. The way that CreativeLive works is that we try to reach as many people as possible for free during our live events. And then you can purchase anytime access to all of these workshop videos, all 3 days, 101 plus challenges that Roberto will be solving for you, and you can rewatch those at any time when you purchase the videos. Now, all 3 days can be purchased for $149. However, when you purchase during the live event, it is $99 only. So it's an incredible thing that you can do here at CreativeLive by purchasing those courses. Plus, that's what keeps us going. Okay, so we are going to be giving away a number of fabulous prizes that Roberto has brought to us for this workshop. Thank you for that, Roberto, and for your sponsors. There are 2 ways to enter our quote contest. The first one is on Facebook, and what you're going to do is go to our Facebook page. There's a green icon that says Roberto Contest, and you are going to listen for your favorite Roberto quote or tip, and you are going to include that course page URL that you see there on the screen. You can jot that down, or you can also just go to the course page at any time in order to use that URL. That's how we search for those for those quotes. We're looking for something that's fun, educational, and inspirational. Roberto is very quotable, so we look forward to seeing your quotes on Twitter come through. All right, everyone, with that, we are ready to kick off this 3-day workshop. Let's give Roberto Valenzuela a huge round of applause.
Thank you. So, am I ready?
You're ready.
I want to say that before I introduce my fabulous group of students, which I'm so thankful that they came from far away and some from very short distances, right? I want to say that I'm super excited about this course, not because of me. I want to make this course about you. I really want to make sure that you don't have to go through what a lot of us had to go through before we had CreativeLive helping us out. When I was starting in wedding photography, I had just received my tenure as a high school business teacher. And when I told my wife that I was going to be leaving my career, which I had just gotten tenure for, to become a wedding photographer, pretty much everybody had a heart attack in my family, including my wife. What that means is there was a lot of problems starting out, and these problems took me a long time to solve, and it takes a lot of experience, and you have to basically trip to get up to learn this experience, and sometimes it takes a long time. And the problem is I want to make sure wedding photographers across the world get their careers and get them to take off right away. There's going to be still trips, there's still going to be falls, but hopefully this course will really help you as a reference guide. This is going to be a complete reference guide for you to be able to go back to, look at it, and maybe it will help you quite a bit solving some of the most difficult problems that we face. I have been polling questions from Facebook, from the CreativeLive Junkies group, hello everybody there, from the CreativeLive alumni group, and from my Facebook group called Picture Perfect Practice by Roberto Valenzuela. I've also been talking to photographers all over the city and all over the world, and wherever I go to, I ask them to please give me a list of their biggest problems they wish they could just have in a clean place where they can just reference, instead of having to search for it in 35 different ways. And I made this class for you. So I would like to first introduce my students. They're all going to speak a little bit about why they chose this course and why they're here, and a little bit about themselves. And then we're going to go ahead and get started with us. So let's see, Sarah. Let's see. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about you.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Van Osdal, and I'm super excited to be here for Roberto's class, and he has lots to teach me. I started just recently, a couple years ago, and I still have many questions, so I'm very excited to be here and learn today. I am from the Seattle area, and I'm a wedding photographer. I also do portraits and boudoir, and you can find me at www.sarahvanosdal.com. Thanks.
Thank you. Hi, I'm David Klumpner. I am from Anacortes, Washington, which is a little bit north of Seattle. I just returned from the Republic of Palau, which is where I was doing a portrait project. I did family portraits of every family on a really small island there for the last 3 months, and I've been living in Japan before that, doing photography as well, although that was a second job. I'm excited for this course. I watched your last course, Roberto, and I really liked the system that you had, so I'm excited to see you use that to get through problems on this course. I'm particularly interested in lighting people from a distance, especially during the middle of the day, and seeing how we do that outside. You can find me. My portfolio site's being built right now, but if you go to Indiegogo and type in Palau, I have a project up there that shows all the photos that I've been doing this winter, so that's a good way to see my current work.
Hi, I'm Christelle Elbert. I am a wedding and portrait photographer, and my website is christelleelbertphotography.com. And I'm just really excited about this course because, Roberto, this is the first book I had purchased, and piece by piece, and I was telling him earlier, sentence by sentence. It's just valuable. So when I heard he was teaching again at CreativeLive, I couldn't help it, but try to be a student. So I'm excited to be here.
Hi, my name is Ashley Fisher. I'm from St. Louis, and my website is www.ashleyfisherphotography.com. I am really excited for this class because when I first started my wedding and glamour photography, I was too scared to ask a question, so I just fumbled a lot and didn't really know what to do. So I spent a lot of time making mistakes over and over again that probably could have been avoided. So I'm excited to take this class and then share the knowledge that I have learned from this class with everyone else.
Hi, my name is Cecilia, and I'm from El Paso, Texas. My website is signaturefilmsphotography.com, and you can find me at Twitter handle at SigFilmsPhoto. I am currently doing wedding photography and portraits. I do all sorts of photography, but I'm really focusing on that. I've come across plenty of problems, lighting, weather, sizes of people, just they're taller than the other person, what to do, just plenty of problems, and I want to make sure that I have a system that will allow me to just fix those without having to give it too much thought or panicking on the spot. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Leon Villagomez. I'm a wedding photographer, and you can find me at leonvillagomez.com. And the reason because I'm here is because in some point I got tired to take the same photos because I was avoiding some problematic spots, but I really want to learn those tricks to, challenge myself to go wherever I want to go to take a photograph and make it beautiful. That's the reason because I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you guys so much for being here. This is going to be a really good class, really fun. I want to basically start by saying how when you decide to get into this industry, by the way, this class is not just for wedding photographers. This class is for anybody who has a human being in front of their camera. Yes, we will have a bride and a groom, and we will be going through the problems through the chronological order of a wedding. But that's on purpose. That's not because I'm a wedding photographer, but that's because as a wedding photographer, you have the most amount of problems you can imagine. You have a problem from the start, from the very beginning. You don't even know what the weather's going to be like. You can't control it, like in a studio scenario. Also, as a wedding photographer, you have to work with variables that are always changing throughout the day. You're changing variables all the time. Even the energy of the people that you're photographing could change. Maybe the bridesmaid got mad at the bride and now they're angry. And it is our job as photographers, not just wedding photographers, but as photographers to be able to change their attitude so we can photograph them the best we can. We need to make them look their best, whether they're happy, angry, sad, or mad, or whatever they are. And so as a wedding photographer, you have to have a lot of this psychological perspective, and you have to be in tune with the people that you're photographing because things can change right under your feet. They can just change quickly. When you start photographing weddings and you start getting into the bride's room, getting ready, you know, everybody here knows and everybody online knows it's a one big giant issue. Every corner of the room is full of problems. That's why I can't even wait to get started on this, because everything has a solution. Everything has a solution. But I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to try to take the approach of simplifying problems by really making them into a system we can all follow. A systematic approach will be really great. Because if I try to talk about little specific details and shutters and this and that, it's going to get confusing. I want to give everybody a good, round, systematic perspective that we can all go to, like go to safety zones. When we run into problems, we have these safety zones, okay? One of the things I wanted to discuss is, for example, looking at the polls that I've been pulling from people, and I've been asking them. This is just to give the audience online an idea of what kind of problems we're going to be tackling in the next 3 days. We are also going to be shooting fashion models. We're not just shooting bride and grooms, because I wanted to make sure people know that this applies to everybody, okay? I always tell people, the human body is the human body. It doesn't matter whether that human body is wearing a white dress or a red dress. It doesn't matter. If you know how to pose, if you know your lighting, if you know your stuff, you will be able to tackle any body, any shape, whether they're skinny, whether they're lovable, whether they're whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter. Everybody has the same body parts. Well, boys and girls have different body parts. But you all know what I mean, right? Let me read a few real quick. This is from Teresa Decking. She wrote, how do you get yourself into the habit of checking every little detail of a pose frame when in the midst of a power shot? Now that's an interesting problem, because everybody knows that when you could be great, but when you show up and it's go time and the coordinator or whoever is on your shoulder breathing down your neck and the pressure's on, everything kind of blanks. Who's there with me that? Everybody just blanks, you know what I mean? And when you're trying to put together the main shot, the main pose or whatever, that takes a lot of brain power when you're under pressure. And then you have to add all these little details. You have to look at every corner of the frame. Is there a weird distraction on the left? Is there a weird finger coming out of somebody's jacket? Is there a weird hand? There's all these little details, so the only way to solve that is to be extremely comfortable with your skills. So when the pressure comes, it doesn't even faze you. Basically, your brain will not betray you. It will be able to pick these things up like a red flag. It will just pick them up. So that's an interesting question. The other one is, how do you get the bride and groom to loosen up and think that you're funny? You know, like you the photographer. No. Why do they have to have the photographer be funny? Why do you think that is? Anybody, you can answer that if you want. What's that? So that they'll smile. Yeah, just so they can relax, right? Relax, smile. Plus, who wants a photo of anybody, whether you're doing a fashion shoot, a senior portrait, of a wedding where everyone is just looking like they're pissed off or something, you know what I mean? So by you making people laugh, they will remove their defensive barriers. See what I mean? They will just remove those barriers, go out the window. They start making a connection with you. People want to laugh. If you are the source of their laughter, they're going to automatically start liking you more. They're going to connect with you more. People don't realize the importance of being able to connect with your clients right away. And by making them laugh, they're going to like you for it. Nobody wants to be mad. They want to be happy. So that's interesting. What is the best way to break the ice when meeting new clients? You know, how do we do that? When meeting new clients, they don't have the best eye for wardrobe. What is the best way to help them get a good styled outfit together for a shoot? Or How do you cope with a bazillion things you need to carry all at once when you're photographing clients when you don't know what you're going to need? This one's from Crystal Skrupski. Coaching, this is interesting. Coaching natural laughter. How do you coach not fake laughter, natural laughter? And the answer to that, not that I'm going to talk about it now, but just quickly, the answer to natural laughter is creating awkwardness. If I stare at you right now, Christelle, you're going to get awkward. See? It's already awkward. See? Bam, natural laughter. It just came out. If you create awkwardness, you will be rewarded with a candid expression from your clients. What does that mean? And I said this last time. If you have to embarrass yourself for 5 seconds in order for you to get an awkward moment to be alive, and that makes them have a reaction, that photo will last forever. Sometimes we're too serious, you know. Oh, I'm here, I'm photographing, I'm at a job. I'm not going to act silly because that's not my style. Well, you have to do something because they're not going to loosen up for you. You have to loosen them up yourself. It is our job. We are, just as we are photographers and clickers and technical people, we also have to be Dr. Phils, right? We have to be psychiatrists the entire time. Here's another one. This is from Melissa Montgomery. Before each wedding, I strategize and go over poses. We all do that, right? We all strategize and go over poses, and that's already a mistake. We shouldn't do that, and I'll explain why. And different ideas as to what I want to achieve for a location they have chosen. Then sometimes in the moment, my ideas for these poses vanishes in thin air from my brain in the heat of the moment. What about some quick poses you can do in 20 minutes? Some go-tos you can use in any wedding. Now, let me stop right there. First of all, we're not going to be memorizing poses in this course. This is not a memorize poses course. This is let's understand how the body works, and let's understand angles, and then you will never run into problems again posing, okay? It's super simple. We all complicate posing way too much. We're going to simplify posing in this course. We're going to simplify lighting and posing in this course because I want people to finally feel comfortable with those two things that seems to stump everybody, right? The reason why when you have all these ideas in your head and you go to a location, the reason why these ideas go out the window when you're under pressure is because they're in the very, very tip of your brain. They're not in your long-term memory at all. We don't spend time understanding the dynamics of the body. We spend time trying to memorize poses. It's like learning a language, and all you're trying to do is memorize words, but you don't even know the grammar behind them to put them together. So in this course, we're going to stop that. I hope we can stop that. My hope is that we can just clarify how simple posing really is. And we can all feel comfortable. And we can all make that go from the top of our heads to our second nature, to our long-term memory. Okay? Let's see, another one from Todd Hubbard. He says, as to thinking about speed lights, I always have a problem trying to balance with existing lighting. I'm going to stop right there. I just came back from judging the WPPI photo competition, and one of the reasons why people think, I'm kind of a strict judge or whatever, it's not that. It was because we learned to use our flashes. We put the flash behind for rim lighting, and we do off-camera flash, right? But we're not thinking how to balance the light that comes out of our flash, which is daylight balanced, and we don't think about how to blend it with all the different types of lighting that we deal with in locations. And when you have a nice warm tone room, and then you have this crazy flash in the back of their heads and that spills over their face, that's going to look like the flash has its own identity. The flash should not have its own identity. The flash should be complementary. It should be helping you. It shouldn't be, let me take attention away from the bride and groom because I am the flash and I am all powerful. Does that make sense? Let's learn the flash. Let's pull it out of TTL. Or if TTL works, great, by the way, but sometimes it's okay to pull it out of TTL, go to manual flash, and learn some techniques to blend it. And we'll discuss some lighting techniques today. Let me go one more here. How to pose large groups, flash settings, light settings for large groups in low light situations, quick setups, and diffusing difficult people. Now, we all have difficult people. Let me tell you something about difficult people. Difficult people just want attention. They don't get enough. Right? They're difficult because they don't get enough attention. They want people to laugh at them. They want people to look at them. They want attention. So just give them the attention they want. If they're jerks, you just be like, oh yeah, that's great. I get you, I understand. And what happens is people are like, oh, this person gets me. And once they get the audience they're looking for, they chill. You know what I mean? They just relax. I deal with difficult people all the time. I live in Beverly Hills. My clients are not exactly the easiest people to deal with. They think they own the world. And some of them do. They own half of Beverly Hills. But they're so funny. Those people are so funny to me now. Like, I'm just, give them the attention they want, give them the audience, and you will have them eating out of your hand. Okay? That's pretty simple. You want to make difficult people laugh? Make it awkward for them. Make them feel awkward for a second, and they'll laugh. You know? You want to blend your light, you want to be able to manage posing and lighting beautifully? Don't worry about it. Put it in, understand the body dynamics, and it will go into your long-term memory. Okay? So this is all going to be part of the, I have a lot more. In fact, if people want to see, look at, these are pages and pages of people pulling problems and just asking me nonstop for all these issues they want to deal with, and we're going to tackle them. Now, the way I'm going to tackle them is this way. I have a pretty hefty timeline that I developed for the pure purpose of helping you and addressing your problems you sent me, okay? But if I address problems number by number, that will get very choppy, and that will not really work. What I decided to do instead is grab your list of problems, make a timeline based on all of these problems, and I'm going to be discussing them as solutions to these problems. Does that make sense? So we're not going to be like, problem number 24, blah, 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 and then I'm going to solve it. That will not be a smooth class. We're going to go over the chronological order of a wedding. We're going to have fashion models as well instead of just brides and grooms. We're going to have wedding parties to represent groups and families or whatever. And we're going to be addressing these problems based on this timeline. Sounds good? All right. Let me go ahead and get started with my quick keynote here.
Roberto, that sounds great.
Yeah,
because
please.
You know that for the 101 problems that you're going to talk about, our CreativeLive viewers have 1,001 more to ask you, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
So.
And do they have some, right?
Just wanted to make sure you knew that.
I hope so. Yes. I want them to ask.
I know you do.
I want them to ask.
I know you do.
This class is not for anybody else other than for the people watching and for you guys. I want people to feel like I am here for them. I'm here to help them. This is not about me. I developed this class. I love teaching. I love this industry. I want everybody to succeed. And I'm going to make it like my life teaching mission to make sure wedding photographers are super respected artists, because they're going to think of us as real masters of our domain. They're not going to think that only fashion photographers are good at what they do. Wedding photographers are also masters of what they do. And remember, this is not just a wedding class. I just happen to be a wedding photographer, right? But I want everyone out there to be able to build a career, pay their bills, not worry about paying their rent because no one's booking them. You know, it's difficult. It's a difficult industry. There is no barriers to entry. So people can just come into the industry and automatically they're wedding photographers. And then they lower their prices and you have to compete with that. And that's why it's so hard. We have to learn how to separate ourselves. We have to be above and beyond what people expect. And then people are going to say, this person's worth the $10,000 he's charging me or she's charging me or whatever. But if we keep this average photography thing, if we keep this levels 4 and 5 and 6 of 10, and we're trying to compete with that, the only tool you're going to have to compete will be your prices. And that is not a good tool. Not a good tool at all. You want your work to be a necessity for your clients, not a desire, a necessity. They need to be like, I need to hire Ashley Fisher. I need to hire her. Not I want to hire her. okay? During the third day, we're gonna be doing a client meeting kind of thing, and I'm gonna discuss how to get into your customer's brain. Not how to sell to them, how to get and communicate with the decision maker part of your brain. So you go from a desire and you become a need, okay? We'll talk about that too. Is my keynote up? Does it show up?
Do you have a clicker, or do I need to give you this one?
Oh, I have a little, I have a clicker, but I can just push it here.
Okay.
Is it showing up?
Guys, we need to get there. It is. Thank
Ah,
you.
Thank you. Okay, for the day one, this is what we're gonna do. How to set yourself apart during the getting ready section. That's really important. I'll discuss that later, actually. Go over basics of light and its behavior, the description of equipment used during the getting ready section of a bride or a groom. What are the differences between a big light source and a small light source? And by the way, just want to say that this guy here, these guys are small light sources, not big light sources. We can make them big, but they come small. So we're going to talk about how to make these small guys into really big light sources, okay? And the reason why we would do that. We're going to do one that a lot of people probably want, how to read a room for its photographic potential, how to read a room. We're going to talk about how to be more progressive, more proactive when it comes to photojournalism, okay? Like in weddings, wedding photojournalism or whatever, or even street photojournalism. We're going to talk about what are probably the best camera settings to be fast at photojournalism so you don't miss moments. We're going to talk about how to get the dress on properly. We're going to talk about keeping it clean and choosing the light, understanding how to shoot, pre-visualize, and execute for the album. I'll talk about this more on the third day, but with my clients, the first initial sales pitch is where I want them to hire me. Not where I try to blow them out of the water with expenses and crazy album and expenses and so forth. My job is to kind of get them to trust me, to like me, to hire me. And then it is my job during the wedding to create so many great pictures, so many great sequences, so many great stories that after the wedding, I lay out an album. I use Graphic Studio, right? And let's say the client sold about 20 layouts. By the time I'm done, they have 35, 40 layouts. That's twice as much. And they can't say no because you had so many stories, so much going on, that they feel like it will be such a shame not to have them. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Here's another big one. We're going to talk about how to push yourself creatively. That's a big one. That's a big, big, big one. So I'm going to even push myself today just to kind of show, and I'm going to push all of you to show. So once we do what we go to, like our little comfort zone pose, I'm going to congratulate you for doing that, and then we're not going to do that anymore. Like, we're going to be like, congratulations, we did the go-to. Remember my last Creative Live I talked about kiss, hug, kiss, fountain, park, dip, kiss, hug, dip, kiss, hug, kiss again. None of us are doing that here. Okay, we're going to expand. Okay? We should make a song out of that, Kenna. I should start making a song out of that.
Does that mean you're going to play the guitar
Yeah,
for us
I was
again?
gonna
That's
say.
not going to happen this time.
Where's
so.
the guitar, Roberto?
On segment 2, we're going to talk about keep yourself thinking and moving to the next set of photos. Now, keep yourself thinking is thinking ahead. While you're shooting, you're thinking, what is the next step? Kind of like Michael Jordan when he's shooting basketball, when he's playing basketball, he's not in the moment, he's thinking ahead. Where is the ball going to be afterwards? See what I'm saying? We're going to talk about what the next step should be. So once you do this, what is the next thing you have to do? For segment 3, we're going to talk about how to photograph a bride or a fashion model. We're going to have the two. We're going to talk about the 21 posing guide, which is part of my posing evolution product that I have made for you guys. We're going to talk about shaping different faces, which is a lot of what the problems. A lot of people ask me, how do you shape a round face, a skinny face, a regular face, a great looking face? We're going to talk about how we're going to talk about hide what you don't want to show. If you have a more if you have a girl or a guy that has more to love, how do you hide so you have a little less to love? Does that make sense? You know, more to love, less to love. Yeah. I think that was the most politically correct way I could have thought about. We're going to talk about beauty shots. And not a lot of people talk about beauty shots at weddings. Beauty shots are really important. They are given to the person who does the hair and the makeup for the bride. And the reason why we talk about that, especially brides, they want to look their best. And they want to have close-ups of them. And if you want to book more and more clients, you're going to have to become better friends with the makeup artists, the coordinators, everybody who gets involved in the weddings are going to be your team. And if you don't give them stuff that makes their job easier to sell their own products and services to people, they're not going to hire. They're not going to recommend you. Does that make sense? We're going to talk about standing shots, sitting shots, and laying down shots. We're talking about how to achieve expression, which is part of the problems that we had talked about before. We're going to talk about positioning hands, legs, and how to position the spinal cord, the spine. We're going to talk about understanding posture, okay? And, of course, bringing sexy back. Once you understand the spinal cord and posture, it's easy to bring sexy back, okay? We're going to talk about groom portraits, making a guy look good. A lot of people spend a lot of time with the bride. Bride. But let me tell you something. When the bride and the groom come to your house and they are thinking about hiring you or hiring somebody else, if you connect with the groom and the groom goes out of the meeting and they're driving away from your meeting and the groom says, I really like that guy or girl, I really connected with that person, the bride is not going to, finally the groom gets involved and you think the bride is going to reject the one thing he really liked? No. That bride is going to say, oh my gosh, you really like that person? I really did. I connected with that person. And they're going to be like, okay. Because what kind of message would she send to the groom if she says, oh, you really liked Roberto? That's great. We're not going with him. I wanted you to get involved in the wedding, and you finally did, but I'm rejecting your suggestion. Okay, then I'll just shut up for the rest of the time. See what I mean? I'll just be quiet from now on. I spend so much time with the groom. I fly remote control, high performance, 6'5" long helicopters. And they are killing machines. They could cut your body off in half like that. And before a client meeting, I line up, I have 6 of those. And before a client meeting, my clients come in and I have 6 helicopters lined up near where the meeting room is. So when the groom sits down strategically in a position where he can have access to the helicopters, the groom will be like, what the heck is that? And I go, oh, you mean the helicopters? Oh yeah, that's just a super awesome hobby I do. You want to see it? That's like 30 minutes of talking. And the groom is like already eating he's just eating like a bird out of my hand. See what I'm saying? I mean, it's over. The wedding has been booked by talking about flying machines. Who knew? Making the groom portraits. I do spend a lot of time with the groom, making him look really good. The groom is your best ally to get your weddings booked, I'm telling you. Making a guy look good, achieving expression, using the location chart to create interesting portraits. Now, I don't know if you guys remember the last time I talked CreativeLive, I talked about the location chart. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. If you want more information about the location chart, you can get my last course called Location, Posing, and Execution. Okay, that's the course where I go into detail on that. In this course, even though we're going to review it as a problem-solving tool, I'm not going to spend 3 days discussing it because we have so many more things. And also, here's another one. Using a video light, using flashes, and using reflectors for portraits, and when is the best time to use each? When do you use the flashes? When do you use the reflectors? When do you use a video light? What is the best time? And segment 4, we're going to talk about how to do wedding party portraits. That's all today, guys. That's just one day. That's just one day. How to do wedding party portraits, how to get them to interact. And by the way, how do you get them to interact? Remember what I said already? you have to do what? You have to make it awkward, right? Make it super awkward. I always tell people when I'm posting wedding parties, everybody just wants to go drink. So they're not into the photos. They just want to go drink. So I just tell them, because they have been drinking, especially wine and so forth, at weddings, I count on that. Because wine stains your teeth. So then I tell everybody to get really close and then to stare at their teeth. That makes them turn, look at their teeth. You get self-conscious. You can't take it. You start laughing out of awkwardness. And then everyone's laughing hysterically because everyone's laughing at each other. And then you take their picture. Even the wine is your friend, right? You just don't know. If they don't have wine, bring a bottle of wine with you at the beginning of the day and be like, would you like some wine to stain your teeth? Individual portraits of each with and without the groom and the bride, okay? We're going to talk about using aperture. Oops, I put sing. You can sing aperture. Aperture, sing aperture. Never mind. Seeing aperture creatively for portraits. We're going to be talking about balancing composition, dealing with difficult wedding parties, and finally, the Q&A at the end of the day. So we have a busy day, okay? All right, I'm going to start. Do we have any little doodle questions we want to do, or should I just start with my keynote real quick?
I think we should just start because we have some questions coming in, but I predict they are ones that you're going to cover.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started then. So, okay, guys, if you have notes, pencil, paper, whatever, I'm going to start talking about some problem-solving tools. First problem we're going to talk about today, the getting ready section. The getting ready section is one of your most important tools for you to separate yourself from other wedding photographers or any kind of competition. The reason is most of us do the same stuff over and over and over again. So the first problem that we're going to tackle is how to solve the little puzzle that the getting ready section of the wedding is, okay? And I'm going to talk more about from a psychological perspective too. So, for example, if you look at the photograph here, this is not an award-winning image by any means, but it's a storytelling image. It's a bridge. It helps set up the beginning of the story. So you have the bride, she's looking at herself, she has no idea that I'm photographing her. This is not a pose, this is just a natural picture. You have the makeup artist or the hair person doing their hair. And take a look at what she's wearing. She's wearing a white, cute little dress, isn't she? That's the other problem I want to discuss. If you do not tell brides what to wear before they're put on their wedding dress, they may be wearing something that's not attractive for you to photograph. So, if they're wearing something like last night's shirt with the ketchup stain from the spaghetti and sauce, that's not going to make great photojournalistic photos. Okay, so first thing is when you have your client meeting, talk to your brides and ask them to go and buy a little white silky dress, a cute one. And with that, you can photograph her all you want. No matter where she's at, she's going to look cute. She's going to look great. Okay? Okay, when you have the bride putting on her dress, take a look at this. This is very carefully done. She's pulling out her dress. The dress details show so beautifully. You can see her expression looking at her dress. These are emotional pictures. This is not just a picture of the dress hanging there, and she doesn't just grab it and be like, all right, let's grab it. Do not let the bridesmaids grab the dress. Okay? You have to think emotion, think how do I sell more real estate in my graphic studio albums? How do I do that? So if the bride is grabbing her dress and then she's looking at it and you're photographing her from the back, that's not going to work either. So that's another problem. Choose an angle that you can predetermine before she gets the dress. Solution to the problem. Figure out where the dress is. Tell the bride how to pick up the dress. And then you stand at the angle where you can see at least a hint of her face. Does that make sense? Also, when she picks up the dress, problem. Most of them are just going to grab their body and just stretch out their arm. That's not attractive. Solution. You have to make sure that she's always at her highest, on her tip of her toes so she looks more tall, more attractive. Solution to that problem. When she grabs the dress, have her grab it nice and candid. Her hands have to be soft and beautiful. They don't grab it and squeeze the dress like this. It has to be from the top so you can see the whole dress while she's grabbing it. Does that make any sense? That's good? Okay. Look at this photograph coming up right here. Obviously, this is not your average photograph. Okay? You have a full mirror. And what did I decide to use? Just a little edge of it. That's when I started thinking, I need to push myself creatively a little bit. You have a perfectly good mirror. What is the obvious thing? Use the reflection of the mirror. What is not so obvious is, there's a perfectly clean wall to the left of that mirror. That means I can actually have a clean, creamy, milky photograph, and I can throw a little hint of the bride doing something really kind of, it looks really sneaky and beautiful. It looks extremely photojournalistic, and it is. But I just told her where to stand. So, this is an example of pushing yourself a little bit creatively. Also, I want you to notice the position of her face. Her face is, you see how her face is turned towards the light? That's not by accident, okay? If you don't think about these things, this is the pre-visualization. Wow, how do you say that?
Visualization.
You are the master. See,
No, you are.
No. Pre-visualization.
You got it.
Whew. Okay, you have to pre-visualize. I know people are watching online and they're wondering, how do you do that? So let me pause for a second and let's kind of think about it. Look at this room for a second. Just look at the room that we're in. And if you can, try to pre-visualize somebody standing somewhere. Like if somebody was here by this bookcase, or if somebody was by that piano over there, or if somebody was sitting by that bench. Look how beautiful the window light is hitting that bench. Can you visualize a bride? Let's visualize a bride sitting in that bench right there. Could you see where her arms are, or can you not? Does that not work? And you can be honest. Can you visualize the arms and the hands and the legs? It's hard. It's harder than people think. We can visualize somebody sitting there, but we can't visualize all the little details. Does that make sense? So let's take a second to try that. Look at that. And then I'm going to ask you, Sarah or Ashley or David, to kind of describe what you came up with. Okay? Take 5 seconds, look at that, and it is going to hurt your brain a little bit, and that's okay. Go ahead. And time's up, because you don't have 10 hours at a wedding. So, what did you come up with, Ashley? What is the pose?
I'm kind of thinking like Audrey Hepburn style.
Actually, you know what? Let's do this even better. Christelle, could I have you be the person that we were imagining? And Ashley, can you go up and just execute that vision that you had? Just execute. Yeah, bring the microphone. Yeah. Go ahead and sit there and just pre-visualize.
If you can sit here, face me. And I'm kind of thinking like very.
Wait, Ashley.
You had a.
Ashley, don't think now. Just execute what you had already thought. Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay, so I'm kind of thinking if you had a wedding dress on, you would be like. It's really hard to do this in post. Okay. It's really hard also to do with her short dress on. I was thinking wedding dress in my head. So I'm thinking, well, now I don't know.
It's okay. Just pose. You know what? Everyone watching on the internet is feeling you right now. Okay?
Good.
And everyone's like, what would I do? They're all freaking out. If you were here, they would be freaking out. So don't worry about it. Just think about the fact that everyone there is in the same shoes as you are. So this is a learning course. So let's do that.
Okay. So I would like for you to then just turn your face towards the light a little bit more. And kind of arch back straight, and then kind of bring your arms this way towards the light. And then I would probably just take a shot of her looking out, kind of thinking about.
Okay, that's good. Now I'm gonna be really pushy.
Okay.
Now that we did that, and that's fantastic, I think that's good. Now, if I was to say, push yourself creatively in the same spot, you don't have to pose her, but what would you do now?
probably add some sort of like foreground element to it.
Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to say to you one more time. You're going to push yourself creatively the third time in the same spot. Now what would you do? You have to change it all up. By the way, you said something really interesting. You said I would add a foreground element. Mm-hmm. If she was the bride, because there's a window here, that's actually a clear white background in an exposure because she's a lot darker inside. So in order to expose for her, that window will be pure white. If you said something really interesting, if you were to put the father of the bride standing right here, facing that way or facing this way, you would get a silhouette of the father while she's getting lit by the window. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I mean. You could have pulled Leon and said, stand right here, and now you have a totally different image, and you're pushing yourself. You're not just satisfied with your initial photo. You're going to push yourself. Push yourself one more time. Okay. What else would you do?
Can we have him there?
Yeah.
Come join me and save me here. Okay.
So he's the father, right?
Yes, if he's the father and he's looking at her, then, and she's looking out the window.
And what is he doing with his hands? Pre-visualize. Don't come up with it. Pre-visualize. What is he doing with his hands? The father, what is he doing? He cannot just be standing doing nothing.
Like he's probably crying and wiping a tear.
Or he's wearing a tie, right?
Or, yeah, he's wearing. Yeah,
okay, so he could be adjusting. Now, what is he doing with his face? Is he looking at his daughter?
Yeah, he's looking at her.
Okay.
But she's...
That's good. He's looking at his daughter. That's also what would be the most clear shot, right? He's looking at his daughter, right? Mm-hmm. Think opposite of clear shot. He's right there. We're not doing the obvious. We're going to do something that's going to throw the viewer of the photograph into like a little spin, like, oh, I didn't expect that. We expected the father to be looking at the bride, but let's throw the viewers of the photograph for a loop. What could the father be doing that would not be the obvious?
Can we add a mother?
No, just with him. Just with him. Aren't you glad you came? Aren't you glad? You know what, Ashley? I want to tell you and everyone watching out there that this is what you have to go through. I'm sorry. This is what you have to go through. This constant, awful feeling of pushing yourself and makes your head hurt is what it's all about. Otherwise, newsflash, you will never get out of your comfort zone. And you will always be mediocre. And you will always struggle to get hired. And your only tool will be your prices. That is not a good position to be in. Okay? So yes, I will push her, and I will do this to her online in front of the whole world. Okay? Because it's the truth. I want everyone watching to really improve. I want you to watch this course over and over a week from today, a month from today, and remember what she's going through right now. And if you're not putting yourself in that situation, you're not going to get any better. Good? Continue.
Okay. So the obvious then would be him looking at his daughter. So could we then instead, can we kind of have it so that she's like getting up and it being her seeing him for the first time?
Beautiful, beautiful. She could be in motion. Now you're changing the picture around. Gosh, that's great. You know, she could be getting up. Now the picture doesn't look so static. Mm-hmm. So now you're adding movement. Congratulations, you're not done. Why not turn the father around and have him look away from the daughter and have him look down? So he's like tying his tie or something. So he could, maybe there's a mirror.
Maybe even he hasn't seen her yet.
No, he's there. He's there.
Could you even maybe even get the
reflection? Or maybe, just maybe, the father of the groom has a mirror in that direction and he's looking at himself in the mirror. Now look at his feet real quick. Do you see how his feet, don't move, the way you were. Nope, back to the equal standing, the way you had it. Do you notice his feet? This is where you have to become a high detailed photographer. The father of the bride is now adjusting his tie. You can look down a little bit, look down on your tie, open up your arms so you can see a gap. That gap that's going to show, it's going to show from that window. It's going to look better because remember, we're creating a silhouette, and silhouettes need shapes and forms. You need gaps. Remember, in my book, I wrote a whole chapter on silhouettes, and if you close his hands like this, it will be one large black spot. Remember, in silhouette, you have to open it up, and you have a white background, so you open it up right here. He's looking at put your legs back the way you had them. He's looking at the mirror. His daughter could be in motion getting up. So go ahead and act like you're halfway in motion getting up. But while you do that, look at your right shoe. Look how much better. Go ahead and sit down again. Lift up your fake dress that you have on. Pretend you have a dress. And as you get up, keep your spinal cord straight and look at your right shoe. So you're going to go like this. Just look at your right shoe. Look at her angles. All her body's angled and beautiful now. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. During that time, the father is looking out that window with his chin slightly down, a little bit of the arms opened up. But now we have a major problem with his feet. What is it?
I see like it just being one leg. And can we have him like kind of bend one of his legs?
Exactly. Good. So he's standing too robotic, and if you are viewing the photograph, or if I was viewing that photograph, I can already tell you, I would think there's a photographer posing this. Does that make sense? You don't want to make it look like a photographer's posing it. So now we're going to bend his knee by shifting his body weight to the back. His arms are up. He's looking straight at the mirror. Now, another problem. The groom or the father is going to say, "Where do I look at?" Right? Solution. You're going to tell him, "Look at that red flower outside. Look at that tree and start counting red flowers on that tree outside. Start counting and tell me how many you count afterwards." So now his brain goes, his brain goes from I'm being posed and I have to act like I'm acting like I'm posing to okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and your brain starts to think. Automatically, there's a disconnect between the father of the groom and the camera, and the photo becomes extremely believable. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The reason why I asked her to look at her right shoe is because by giving specific directions, you are automatically going to assume, if you say, keep your spinal cord straight, grab your dress, get up, and take a look at your right shoe, as you do that, she's going to basically look up, her face is going to have a place to be, you're going to bend the chin, she's going to have to look down. If she was to look at her father getting up, he's like, "Hey, there you are," that will destroy the whole thing, okay? So you get up and you execute these movements. Don't tell the bride, "Can you go ahead and get up and look at your unborn children in the floor?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to be specific. Like, watch this. "Can you please get up?" That's boring. That's not going to work. Now, go ahead and take a seat again. Now, very slowly, grab your dress, keep your spinal cord straight, keep your chin nice and strong. Get up slowly and keep looking at your right shoe or near that cable. Bam, keep it going up, keep it going up. And now look, her elbows are bent. You have a beautiful gap right there, which really shows her waistline. Everything is working for you by giving some simple directions, okay? Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, just make sure you get a mic if you guys have questions. That's right here.
Roberto, on that last pose, how would you frame that? Would you have the entire father in the shot? Initially, when you guys were setting it up, I was thinking you'd cut him off at the waist and have her fill like the background frame, but then you started talking about his legs and feet. What would you?
That's a great question, man. You have about 2.5 feet of wood that takes away from the silhouette. Does that make sense? That's something to look at. So I don't know if the people on the internet can see that bench area. Can they see that bench area? That area has about 2.5 feet of space that has wood in it, right? Are you totally like, woo? It's hard, but it's what it is. You know, I spent years pushing myself like that. I want everyone to do it. That actually adds a couple of interesting things. The light is going to hit that bench. So that actually adds to the contrast between the window and the person in the window. The fact that the light is hitting the bench gives you more white space. Does that make sense? In a picture like this, because it's photojournalistic, because it has a photojournalistic feel, I'm going to take full advantage of the symmetry. Actually, yeah. In terms of composition, I would take full advantage of the symmetry, but in terms of the position of the bride and her father, they would be off-centered. Does that make sense? Well, what's important is that they're both within that window. If the father is out the window, you're no longer having a silhouette. Now you have a black mush. Okay? Also, I might decide to do a horizontal picture and do more of a close-up. Okay? Which reminds me of another topic which we'll talk about later. What lenses to use and what should you have on you to really maximize what you can do. This is really symmetrical, this area. And I talked about this in my book, and I talked about this at CreativeLive last time. If you have something that's very obviously symmetrical, then don't put the bride and the groom or the father or your subject in the dead center. It's the obvious thing to do. Does that make sense? And we talked about this, right? Actually, like if I would have said, here's a symmetrical area, where are you going to put? Everybody's like, oh, put them in the middle. But that's obvious. And we need to invite the viewers of our photographs to have a little trip down Disneyland or something. They're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. And it adds character to your photos instead of like, that's what I would expect. The brain accepts that picture as, that is what it is because that's what I would expect. But when the brain gets a little twist, a little poke, it's like, you didn't see that coming, did you? Then the brain is like, I love this photograph. I love this photograph. And I encourage you guys and the people online to remember that. To remember that. Give the brain a little unexpected poke. You know, throw a little element in there that may not be expected. If it's symmetrical, have something that's asymmetrical. Okay? If someone's laughing, the other person's not. Show contrast like that. Okay, we're going to talk about the bride putting on her wedding dress. You guys notice here how many of her best friends are in this picture? Do you think she's not going to want this picture on her album? Of course she will. She's going to be begging for this picture in her album. What if I would have told the bride to just put on her shoe? That's fine. That's beautiful. But if the bridesmaids are there, include them a little bit. Now, do you have to include all three? No. And if you are going to include them, make sure they're all doing something different. If they're all like, oh, looking at the bride. Okay, obvious. Obvious. Okay, so. What's happening here? Take a very careful look at this. There's the lights hitting her beautifully. I turned the chin of the bride to the left. You see that? And also her spinal cord is straight. So she's putting on her dress, but she's not putting it on with her back like this. She's actually keeping her back straight, and then she's putting it on. So. Also look at the staggering of the girls. One of them is in the floor, one of them is a little higher, the other one's a little higher, the other one's a little higher, and it keeps staggering. So you have this, your eye has to kind of go like this to see the whole image. Now look what's going on again. Do you see how everybody's doing something a little bit different? Okay, everybody's doing something a little bit different. Now, a mistake that I made here, a mistake that I made in this photograph is that I wasn't specific enough with the girl on the right, and she didn't really know where to look. Does that make sense? Take a look at that girl on the right. She looks like she's posing. She's not really doing anything. And that was my bad, right? I was too concentrating on so many other things that when I finally got to her, I just told her to kind of play with her hair. I didn't tell her what to do with her eyes. So. This is very important. Once you include the bridesmaids helping her with the dress, you better include the mother or the father or something. The reason is because that's another photo that she's going to have in her album. If her mom would have been involved at the beginning putting on the dress as well, she will say, I already have a photo with my mom. I don't have to have two. Does that make sense? Because every layout costs money. So if she's like, okay, my mom is here, the mom is going to help you with the veil. Now she has to have that photo in the book. It's two different groups of people. Okay? Okay. All right. This is the part that I was going to say that was going to be a little bit of a shocker for people. We're
ready for it. We're
ready for it. We're going to be discussing lighting a lot. And I've read maybe 20, 30 books on lighting already. I do lighting all the time. And the more I read, the more confused I get. Who's with me on that? Right? You have a book that basically, a lot of these resources give you a million options. You can do this with 22 flashes. You can do this with 5 flashes. Here's 10 different looks. Here's 1,700 modifiers. Is that right? Here's a modifier you can get from here. Here's a crazy modifier from there. Everybody has a little plastic one, a metal one, okay? And you go and you buy everything. And then you're at the wedding, everything goes out the window and everything blows up because you don't know what the heck is what anymore, okay? The problem I think that we're having in the way we take lighting in, photographic lighting is the most important tool we have. It's like our oil paints if you're a painter, okay? Is that we are concerned way too much on what the possibilities are of the light. Let me repeat that. We're concerned too much with what the possibilities are of the light. I'm going to try to simplify this for everyone out there. It's easier to know what you don't want than to try to figure out which of the 10,000 million possibilities you could do for that particular portrait. Yeah? We all know what we don't want. For example, if somebody says to me, I don't know how to play the piano at all. But if somebody says to me, play Mary Had a Little Lamb, I don't know how to play it. But I sure know how to not play it. Right? I know that if I go like this, I know it's not Mary Had a Little Lamb. So I am achieving something. I know what I don't want. In lighting, I invite you and everyone out there watching, and I'm going to take you on a little trip down what that means. Why is it so crucial to know what you don't want in lighting more than knowing what you do want? Does that make sense? So let's try this.
Hey, Roberto,
Yeah.
would you mind just moving your water bottle over to maybe the other table? Thank you.
See that? Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. Ready? When it comes to lighting, sunlight doesn't matter. Who cares? If you don't know what you don't want, the sunlight is going to be your enemy. Who cares? Don't worry about all this and that, or I need to do that and turn the head. Nothing matters when it comes to the sun. If you do not know what it is you do not want to achieve with the sun, then that sun is not going to help you. Okay? Multiple flashes. You can have all of these flashes here. I have a bunch of flashes. You can have all of these things. Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you know what you don't want to do with these flashes. Okay? Not what you can do, not what modifiers you can buy, not how many setups you can do, but what you don't want to achieve with these. Once you get that, everything will start to kind of fall into place. Okay? All the flash setups in the world don't matter. Let's erase all of that out of our memory banks, and let's just wipe that clean. Video lights don't matter. Who cares? Reflectors and diffusers don't matter. We use them. But we only use them so we can counterattack what we don't want. Okay? Shade also doesn't matter. So let's talk about what that means. I call this little system Light 5 because I was going to call it Big 5, but I thought it's really a Light 5 thing. Okay? These 5 things I'm going to give you right now, everyone in the internet, everyone watching all over the world should probably write this down because this is going to simplify lighting forever for you. Okay? It's called Light 5. Here it is. When you're taking a portrait of anything or anyone, you know what you don't want. And these are the things you probably do not want. And we can all agree that if we're trying to take a professional picture or a professional grade photo, we cannot have any of these. If we have a single one of these items in our portrait, it is no longer a professional grade picture. Okay? So here we go. The first thing is we do not want harsh, spotty, or disorganized shadows in the face. What does that mean? It doesn't mean putting a cool graphic shadow in the face. That's an organized shadow. I'm talking about shadows and highlights that don't belong, that there's no order to them. So remember, the wording is very important here. This is harsh, spotty, or disorganized shadows in the face. Okay? If you ever take a picture of anyone and you see that, you have to do something about it. Okay? Second, you can never have burnt out highlights in the face. It's just not acceptable. You cannot have the whole left side of the cheek blown out because the sun hit it right in the face. That is not a professional grade picture, okay? Third, you can never have squinty eyes. It's as simple as that. You can have a beautiful portrait, and if the eyes are like this, you just messed up the whole thing. So that's the third thing we know we don't want. 4, my subject's face, or your subject's face, subject's face to be darker than the background, unless it's a silhouette. So you have a beautiful location. You have a subject. If their face is darker than the background and it's not a silhouette picture, you have a problem and you have to do something about it. Okay? 5th, lacking catch lights on my subject's eyes. Okay? If you can remember these 5 things, today, tomorrow, the next day, at every wedding you shoot, if you take a picture of Christelle and her face is darker than the background, we know we don't want that. Instead of trying to help you with 10,000 lighting setups and possibilities, I'm going to help you by giving you 5 things to remember. That's a lot easier. 5 things to remember is a lot easier than 17,000 things you could do with all this stuff. All of these tools, this, reflector, flash, video lights, diffusers, the sun, the clouds, everything are tools for you to be able to control these 5 things. So if you can think of these as tools to fix that, it will simplify your world a lot more. For example, let me pick on my friend David here. For example, you have a subject and the background is brighter than their face. Which tools could you use to fix that issue?
Depends on how far away the subject is.
Good.
It depends on how far away the subject is from you, but if he or she is close, you could use a reflector. That would work well. You could use speed light. If they're far away, that's actually a question that I have for you in this course, but you could use a larger flash. You could use a silver reflector maybe for that.
And the goal is very simple. Make the subject at least just as bright as your background. But even better would be if your subject is brighter than the background. But see, it's so much easier. Imagine all the photos you have taken. How much easier it is to just think, do I have one of these 5 things in this picture? And if the answer is, yeah, I have one of them, they're squinting, then you need to have them close their eyes and tell them to open it because the iris doesn't react to light. It takes about a quarter of a second for the iris to react to the light before the iris closes. You have a quarter second. That's plenty of time for you to get a picture of them with their eyes wide open in the harshest light possible. So just remember that. You're trying to fix 5 things. If you encounter one, you have to fix it with your tools, with your flash, with your video light, with your reflector, with your diffuser, with the sun, or with shade. Okay? Okay, like 5 examples. Let's go ahead and talk. Everybody can participate. If you're online, you have a piece of paper and pencil, why don't you write down in your piece of paper and pencil which one of the 5s do you see here? If you see multiple of the 5s, write both. Okay? So it's a little fun thing to do. By the way, if you're watching online, I want you to go to your portfolio from your last wedding and go through these 5 things I just talked about. And go through all of your bride and groom portraits. Go through your fashion portraits. If you're a fashion photographer, if you're a portrait photographer, go through your last photo shoot and see if you find any of these 5 things in here. And do a little assignment and start circling in Photoshop where the problem is. Go to a red brush, circle it, save it, put it in a red folder. This is my problem. I had squinty eyes here. You can circle it and then type in Photoshop squinty eyes, right? Okay. So let's see, Cecilia, can I pick on you for a sec? Which one do you see? Which of the 5 do you see?
I see burning highlights in the face.
Is that acceptable?
No.
Heck no. How can you fix that?
Maybe a diffuser.
Good.
Somehow.
What else do you see? Let me pick on, let me see, Sarah.
She has squinty eyes.
She's got squinty eyes, pretty squinty, but what is the main one that you see in this picture? Disorganized, spotty shadows in the face. This picture looks quite terrible because it's got 3 of them. It's got the squinty, it's got the burnt face, and it's got the disorganized shadows in the face. This is what you would call a home run in awfulness. Okay? This is a good picture of a great-looking guy. Depends who you are. If you ask my wife, she would agree. If you ask somebody else, matter of opinion. Although it shouldn't be, but it is. Okay, matter of opinion. Sorry, Susan, Okay, what do you see? Which of the 5 is hitting this picture?
His face, he's darker than the background. A little bit.
She's brighter, actually. But which one? Where's another one? Look at the right side. Yeah, go ahead and get the microphone. That's the microphone. Go ahead and say it.
Sorry, the highlight on the face.
The highlight on the face. This time, there is no disorganized shadows in the face, right? It's clear. But look at the right side of the face. It's completely destroyed. Therefore, you have one of the problems, one of the 5, you need to fix it. Is this helping? One of the 5. Now, let me pick on Christelle. Get the microphone, please.
Yes.
If you have a burnt out highlight on the face, and you do not have a diffuser, and you do not have a flash, and you do not have anything, and you have to fix this, what do? That's the easiest solution to this problem.
The easiest?
Yeah.
Rotate his body?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's simple, see? Rotate the body so that the apex of the shadow of the person you're photographing is exactly where you're standing as the photographer. Mm-hmm. That means that the sun is now directly behind their head, and there is no possibility of the light spilling through their cheeks. Okay? So, great. This is a little more difficult. So I'm going to pick on Ashley Fisher because she flew here. Okay? That's terrible. Which one of the 5s do you see in this photograph?
Okay, so I can't really see it. That's really far away from me, but I'm guessing probably no catch lights.
That's it. That's it. It's no catch lights. They're just as bright as the background, but the problem in this photo is that there's no catch lights. Now, if you go around photographing your clients, and we're not thinking about this, you need to figure out a way to fix it. So I'm going to pick on Leon. You're the winner. Leon.
All right.
You have a portrait like this. You took this class at CreativeLive. You're like, I remember Roberto said these 5 things I need to remember. This one is lacking catch lights. How do you fix it?
Probably I try to use a flash to pump their faces.
Okay, that's good. You could use a flash. How would you use that flash? Because you don't want to change the exposure, right? You're just trying to get a catch light on the eye. You can change exposure a tad, but you don't want to make it like dramatically different.
Yeah.
So what would you do?
I might use the flash, set the flash through another directions, and I use maybe a diffuser just to
You could grab any You could grab any piece of paper and throw the flash in that direction. The flash will bounce into their eye, and it will just give them a little kiss of light into their eye. Kiss of light into their eye, not a kiss of eye, because that would be really gross. Yeah. See what I'm saying? You would have a kiss of light into their eye. It's very easy for the eyeball to catch a catch light. It's very easy. All you need is a little tiny bit. You could grab your flash on the camera, whatever, turn that towards them, boom, boom, and it hits them in the face. It doesn't change the exposure too much. You can even turn the volume down on the power of the light, right? And then you will get the catch light without the exposure change. Okay?
Great.
Roberto, I have a question.
Yeah.
If you're doing engagement photos or even a wedding on a gray day, are you going to be using a flash for every shot in what you're describing there to get
If you're
catch
using
lights?
a what?
If you're doing your photo shoot on a gray day where you're
Like
not going to get any
Seattle?
sunlight, exactly, are you going to have somebody doing what you just described, have a flash with a white piece of paper or a diffuser or something to get
The
a
piece of
catch
paper
light?
is just an idea I came up with now. You could use anything. Like I use a Sunbounce. You could use a piece of paper. Sunbounce is a company that makes reflectors and stuff. And they make a little thing that you put in the hot shoe, or it attaches to your flash, and it's like a little wall. And you can turn the flash towards it and bounce the light. Yeah, I don't have to have an assistant for that. You could do it yourself. You know what I mean? If you don't have someone, you can just turn the flash, and it's on your camera, right? And then just take the picture and just hold a piece of paper, you know? Or if you see a wall or something, turn it that way. That's it, you know? You know, guys, what I'm trying to say is that there's no magic, insane, genius formula to fix all these problems. A lot of them are solved super easily. Like, piece of paper, boom, there you go, done. Or what you said, just rotate them, right? So you don't get the burn. What's wrong with this picture?
Oh, the shadows. The disorganized.
Besides everything, really, right? What's wrong with this one? What's the most obvious one?
Squinty eyes.
Squinty eyes. That's it, a squinty eye. You know, David, you look like Aaron.
He's really handsome.
Even your mannerism, you are like Aaron's duplicate. Like if Aaron ever disappears, they could replace you with him, and nobody will ever know a CreativeLive.
I can see that. Aaron is our producer, and I can see the resemblance.
Isn't that funny? It looks exactly like I'm trying to do that. I'm freaking out, and I'm like, Aaron, you seen there? There he is.
The voices are similar too.
It's exactly the same.
Are we the same guy?
Are you guys bros?
He's pretty good looking.
I said the same.
I was gonna say, even like your shirts
The
and
voice.
stuff are the same.
The voice is similar. The voice is
The
similar.
voice is similar. That's incredible. Okay, sorry, Aaron. We love you, man. Quickly, we are running out of time for segment one. So quickly, what do you see here?
The darker than the background.
That's it. See how super simple. Okay, guys, do you see the value of how you could fix these 5 things? Once none of these 5 things exist, you have now what I would consider a professional grade photograph. I didn't say it was an award-winning first place in the world, in the universe picture. I'm talking about getting down to the most basic form of professional photography in terms of lighting. Okay? What is the simplest way to think, I need a professional grade picture in everything I do because I am a professional photographer? And the simplest thing is not to think, well, I could throw in 22 flashes and put them here and there, or I could pull out 17 video lights. The 5 easiest things to remember is, I cannot have any of these 5 items. Okay? That's a tremendous help. Trust me, it has changed the way I light every wedding. I have a bride in front of me or a subject, and I think of those 5 things. And once I don't have them, I have a good start. Okay? This was one of the models on my last CreativeLive course, and I took this picture to remember to talk about this issue. What is the problem here? She's not squinting, but what is the problem here? That's it. Highlighting her forehead. Oh, microphone, sorry. Highlight.
The highlight on her forehead, yeah.
Highlighting in her face, right? In her whole face. Now look at her nose. Do you see her nose there? Now, let me discuss something important. Remember I talked about how people use the flash and we put it behind the bride and groom and we do like a rim light thing going on? We all do it. We do it all the time. I do it too. You have to remember that. Position this carefully so you don't get the nose to have a little piece of flash on the corner of the nose and the rest is good. If you do that, you're adding harsh shadows and disorganized spotty lighting in the face. Look at this. This is not acceptable for great professional photography. You could have a beautiful model and you have one of those elements and the photo goes out the window. Okay?